for an incredible night. Oh, we're taking it up a notch.
I was thinking of this topic of meeting couples. Howard's probably the best person to ask about this. So today's episode, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Howard Wing.
I think we're in the best industry in the world because if you genuinely truly love what you do, you never have to sell yourself. All you have to do is talk about what you do. Walk them through their wedding day with you in it and why you're going to make it so good. And if you want to instill confidence in your couple so you can pretty much guarantee getting the booking, then
Hey, be sure you stick around because we're only getting warmed up.
you want them to create a picture in their mind of you being on the wedding, delivering what you're saying you're going to deliver. And if somebody can visualize something, it's more likely going to happen.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening to this. Welcome back to another episode of Think Wedding Business. Today, we're going to be talking about meeting couples, meeting clients, and how once you've got that inquiry, how then to meet those people and how to behave on that meeting to turn it and give yourself the best chance of turning it into a booking. And what we always try and do with the podcast is when we're thinking about what guests we want to bring on, we're always looking at their USP and what their expertise, what their superpower is. And I was thinking of this topic of meeting couples and how to secure bookings and how to behave on a meeting. And really, there was no one else that came to mind when I thought about who we could invite on to talk about that. Nobody else came to mind that is like that could do it better than you, Howard. So there was I couldn't really think of anyone that I was like, Howard's probably the best person to ask about this. So, ladies and gents, today's episode, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Howard Wing.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's great to be here. I've watched this podcast and listened to it for such a long time.
Oh,
I've always wanted to be on it.
Thank you. It's good to have you on.
And thanks for recognising, as you called it, my kind of superpower. And it's really funny, Adam, because I don't think I've ever taken a booking without meeting a couple. Now, I just do weddings now, but I used to do a lot of corporate work and birthdays, anniversaries. I even used to meet those people.
Yeah.
I used to go and as soon as the inquiry comes through, I'm always pushing to get the meeting so I can sit down and talk to them and get to know them a little bit. So it's something that I've always done. So
I'm excited about this one because I know you've got loads of practical tips and advice, and I know it's a lot of it you taught me when I started, and that's kind of all I know is meeting couples. And I don't do it as much anymore as I used to. I used to do it every time at the start, like you say. But a lot of people, it'll be alien to a lot of suppliers because they will just do everything over email or DM or over the phone even. Why meet people? Why can't you just do it over the phone?
Well, you know what? It all started when I was inspired many years ago by another singer, and it was the guy that me and Sam had for our wedding. And I'll never ever forget the experience that he took us down when it come to booking him. So the thanks really goes to him because he inspired me to do it. But because I was affected so much by how he took us down the booking process, it's something that I've always employed right from the start, and it made us feel really special. And there was absolutely no doubt that we were going to book this guy from having that first meeting. And he went to a bar in Manchester to meet him, and it was a dead cool bar. He turned up, he was trim, he had a cool suit on, and it was a real professional edge. And I thought, when I decided to sort of go into the singing world and the entertaining world, I thought, I'm going to do the same thing because it's the way that it made me feel. And Sam, and we always go back to that meeting. We always still talk about it even now. So that is why I started to meet couples. And I mean, I suppose your direct question was why do it? Well, there's one example. How it made us feel, and it actually made us feel quite special that he wanted to come and meet us in person. And I know we talk about this, and we talk about it on our course and with all our guests, that if you can do something that's going to stand you apart from everybody else, that is another reason why you want to meet your couples. Now, it's not going to be for everybody. It depends on the service that you provide. What I will say, if you're providing a service it's an expensive service, it's a decent investment, then I think couples are more likely they're going to choose you over somebody who won't meet them. Somebody's not as attentive replying to them or wanting to create that personal connection. So there's another reason, the personal connection with the client and the couple.
Yeah, I suppose if depending on the type, like say you're a florist that does a lot of, or someone that does a lot of weddings, I suppose it becomes hard then to meet each individual couple every time. But surely there's still an element of come down to the workshop and
So you can imagine somebody
you're
like
gonna have some services, something in the wedding industry have to have that person. Like at some point you have to meet them because they're coming to taste the food if you're a caterer. They're coming to look at the flowers if you're a florist and design the...
Exactly.
But for someone like me, videographer, I can go, here's my work.
You can, but it doesn't have
here's
to be.
Here's a link.
Yeah.
I don't have to meet them.
You don't have to, but in my eyes, I think, well, why would you not if it's an expensive service? Yeah. For instance, floristry, for instance, they might have their starting package might be whatever, just £1,000, £2,000, small little bookings. It's probably not worth it for people to go out and meet people at the start. But if you're selling out your high-end package, might be £10,000 worth of flowers, then it's a perfect opportunity to go in and sell that service on a more personal level with your couple.
There's a word you said about the guy that did your wedding, experience. And like if you're taking if the experience of meeting you and engaging with you, and you take, like you said, he took you on a journey, and that kind of process makes you feel something, and it is an experience, and that stays with you more so than the other supplier who you just got an email back from.
It becomes so much more than just I'm booking a singer, or I'm booking a filmmaker, or I'm booking a florist. It's so much more, and you do remember the whole thing. You know, I get couples who've seen me say guests at weddings whose weddings I've done previously. And they always say, oh, God, it was so nice to come to your house and meet your wife and your kids. How are they all doing? It wasn't just the singing on the day that was special to them. It was the build up to it. It was the coming to meet me. It was the whole package that I provide for them. And it's just, it's such a personal touch, which a lot of people don't want to do. But there's so many reasons. I mean, one of the main reasons I meet my couples now is so I can gain knowledge about their wedding. But more importantly, it's about becoming friends with them, creating that personal connection with them. And, you know, the old saying, you know, you're always going to book your friends, aren't you? And if somebody's got that feeling towards you that you're their friend, they're going to book you over the 10 other people that they might be thinking of booking who've not even asked about having a meeting. Here's my prices on my website or on an email. There's no personal touch there. You can't create a connection with a couple. There's no personalisation involved, and there's none of that friendship level stuff going on.
Yeah, that's one reason to do it there and then, because you can ask yourself that question of how do I stand apart from everybody else, and that is even now still a really easy way to do it, because there are still, like, I know in videography world, I'm one of the few that does meetings or offers meetings or Zoom, because a lot of vendors just do everything over email even now, so it's an easy way to stand apart, isn't it? And if you're willing to meet them and chat to them and they feel a connection with you, then they're much more likely to book you than the other person who just sent them an email. And then this is something that you taught me early on. It becomes then we need Adam. It's not just we want a good videographer, it's we need Adam because like we really liked Adam. It has to be Adam. It can't be anyone else now at this. They've gotten to that point where they're so invested in me, and the whole meeting is geared towards explaining like how I'll fit into their day, and they're picturing it, they're buying into it, and to the point where it's like, well, we can't go to anyone else now. It's going to have to be him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? But it's also really good for you. And again, that's why one of the main reasons I have my meetings now, after all these years, is for me to understand them and their wedding and their expectations from me at their wedding. But it's also a great opportunity for me to see if I really want to do their wedding at the same time. So I need to get that same amount of excitement as they do. Yeah. For instance, if I've got a couple there that are they're not that excited, or they don't really know me, they've not seen me before, they might want a different type of singer. Well, that gives me an education of, do I want to do that wedding? Am I right for their wedding? And the odd time, I'm not right for the wedding.
Have you ever turned down a couple, met them and gone, I don't think we're the right fit?
Yeah, of course I have, yeah, because it's important. I mean,
which is interesting stands to take. Like you've actually said no, I don't want the work, thanks.
Well, it's as important to me now, my stage of career, as it is to them, without a doubt. And it's very rare that I do, because by the time somebody comes here, A, they've either seen me, B, their friends have recommended me, or they had the last booking I was actually recommended by her hairdresser. And they know a little bit they know the vibe that they want at their wedding. So generally, yeah, I'll always take that.
They're
booking.
already buying into it before they even come through the door.
Exactly, yeah. So you do have to set it up prior. Everything's got to be on point. Your social media's got to be there. You got to be showing what you do. So by the time they come through the door, it is the right couple. But the odd time, maybe it's not the right couple. So that is also good to know. Yeah, it does happen. Yeah,
and I find it really helpful in managing expectations, because I know loads of people that get like hassle from, well, I say hassle inverted commas, from couples after the wedding, where they've just been like, oh, we were expecting this, do we not, like, from a video example, oh, you didn't film this part of the day, we assumed we'd get that, and the videographer might never ever film that, but because they've not met them and chatted through the whole experience with them, then they don't know, like the videographer doesn't know what their expectations are, and they don't know what to expect from the videographer.
It's that really important knowledge that you get from meeting your couples, and you can really only do that on a face-to-face meeting. And it becomes about education as well. I mean, when we sit the couples down, we chat to them, I'm kind of subtly educating them on different aspects of the wedding, which they love that, because it's like, well, this is the first time we've ever done this. We'd love to get your experience and your knowledge. So then you've got an opportunity to actually give that and get to know them. And I know how my act works, and certain things have to be in place. So I can then convey that to the couple, and they'll go, oh yeah, I can see now why. But if I've not had the meeting, they might not understand why I need to do certain things. But after having the meeting, they do. But now I have 2 meetings with my couples. One before booking, it's the most important one. And then one a week or 2 before the actual wedding, where we get all the details down. But it's that initial meeting is the most important for me, without a doubt.
Yeah, because I think like the less that you kind of get across what you do, and they can let you know what they want, the more risk there is of there being issues down the line, because they might expect things that were never on the table, but because you've not outlined exactly what it is you do, they're like, I thought that maybe this, and just because like in general they might just have this perception that things happen a certain way, and unless you tell them, then you're going to potentially have headaches further down the line.
Well, if, for instance, for that one, I might do one of my gags that might not be right for maybe a guest that I've actually pinpointed it for, and on the on the meeting, they will say, that gag you talked about, that's perfect for...
Don't do it you'll offend that auntie.
Do it
better for the other one.
Yeah, and you'll get that education when you meet about your video. We've got this group of people, and they might not be the great to work, but when you turn up, how you have to be sometimes with certain groups of people, because you've got that knowledge, you've got that. It's and
then not only is that mitigating any kind of issues, but it's also making them love you even more afterwards, because you know exactly what they want. You can then deliver if I say to them, I will deliver it in this exact way, so that you will, like for me, you'll feel comfortable on the day. You won't know I'm filming you. You'll get your video exactly like you've seen on my website. Trust me, like I know what I'm doing. This is how it works. This is how I'll do it. And then you actually deliver that afterwards. They're always like, like what you said before when we met you. You did it exactly, and like we were so grateful. And so actually, it makes me look. It's what I would have done always anyway. But because I've told them that I would do it, and then I did it. It makes them think that I'm like even more of a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's good. So meetings are great, and much more powerful than just email inquiries, DMs, and stuff. What's your process of like when an inquiry comes in? What do you do from that point? How do you get them to a meeting?
Well, I mean, I always try and open up a bit of dialogue and a bit of communication with the emails or on the phone. I'm a big advocate for ringing my couples. First things first is always find out the date, check I'm free, check out the venue, check it's a venue that I can work at. And then I would just reply, yes, I'm free on your date. I always take a meeting with my couples before bookings are considered. And this is how it works. We come here, we chat about your day, I get to know you a little bit. I get to know your wants and desires and needs for your wedding, and we talk about it. But it's basically just a nice chat, a cup of tea and a coffee, and we talk about your day, and I'll tell you how I fit into your day.
So no mention of prices, packages.
If they ask me the question on the email, then I will reply with the price. If I generally ring the couples anyway, I will always say that I'll follow up with the price. But then I always mention straight away that we have to have the meeting. It gives me a good bit of knowledge about them as well. If they're willing to come here and meet with me, it means they're really considering me. They're really considering me, and I'm high up on their sort of list of priorities.
Yeah.
Generally, 9 times out of 10, when they come through the door, I'm getting booked. Because we've got to that stage.
So I know you always have your meetings here at your house, which we're in now, and this is your office.
This
But
is it.
For everyone watching on the YouTube, we're in Howard's office, and we'll go into sort of the setup in a bit. But they always come here. So what you're saying is, if you ask them to come here, knowing that if they are willing to make that journey, then they're probably already pretty invested anyway. And you're one step along the way.
Yeah, and they've made the effort to come. And once you've made an effort for something, you're more likely to get the booking.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Nice. So like, I don't meet couples at my house just because it's not practical. I don't have the space. Got toddlers and dogs and stuff, and it seemed like it would be chaos. So I just meet them at the pub. So
equally great. Doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, but we'll get on to like the environment, because I know why you haven't come around here. But if it's not possible for someone, and what do you do if they live like miles away and they just the other side of the country and they can't come to your house?
I hate doing them, but I would do a Zoom.
Yeah,
because you can still create that connection with the couple. It's nowhere near as good as face. I'll always tell everybody, if you can have a face-to-face meeting where you meet in person at your house or a pub or somewhere else, you do get a better connection, more chance of getting the booking than a Zoom, because they don't have to make much effort for a Zoom. They just have to sit down and look at a screen. They have to make the effort to come here and see me, or go to a pub, or drive, or make a commitment to come and see you. It makes them more invested in your service.
It's a psychological thing, isn't it?
It's all up here.
Because when I do Zooms, half the time the couple are just like sat on the sofa, as they would have been that evening anyway, in the scruffs, and their phone at this angle, and they're just kind of like, they've paused the telly and they're like, yeah, okay, hi. And it just doesn't feel as engaging as like you say, make an effort, getting dressed up and going to somewhere. Yeah,
I always ask where they are as well, in the communication prior. And if I know that they're only an hour away from me and they're not willing to come and meet me, I won't do it. I won't do it.
Yeah, so you just insist it has to be at my house.
Yeah, I mean, I've had couples come from London to meet me.
Yeah.
But they've made a weekend of it. I had a couple here this week who lived about 2 hours away, but they had made a day of it. They went to Blackpool.
Well, that's an indicator, isn't it? Because couples that maybe live a certain lifestyle and have a certain like budget for their wedding will be able to, they're more likely to be the sort of people that will do those kind of things.
Yeah. And to answer your question, if it's a 5-hour drive to come and see me,
Zoom.
I would do the Zoom.
Yeah.
And I think from all my Zooms, I think I've always had the booking when I've had the Zoom meeting. But the meeting the couples face to face, if you can do it, is the best way.
So you bring them,
in my opinion.
Yeah, and you do that at your house, and obviously you do that knowing that if they're willing to come, then that's a good indicator. Yeah. But why is it important for you to then have them in your house?
It's the personalisation on steroids, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're inviting people into your home. I used to, before I had this house, I used to have all my meetings over at Preston Marriott, which was quite a central point. It was really good for people to come to. And
just off the motorway.
Just off the motorway, and that was still good, which is something I would do.
So before we get onto the house then, if you can't do it at home and you're going to do it at a neutral place, a pub, a cafe, wherever, like what do you need to make sure that, like, you can't just go down the local Wetherspoons, in my opinion.
You need to scope out a venue where that would work, and if it's something just off a motorway or somewhere that would be easy for you and easy for your couple, I would try and find that venue, and I'd go and visit the venue and I'd go and have a look. So the Preston Marriott, where I used to go, there was a section in there. It was just off the bar, and it was like a little alcovey room. You might even remember it yourself.
Yeah, well, I used to do them there.
And that is where I would get there nice and early, make sure that I've got that space for myself. It's literally 2 sofas like this with a table in the middle, and a step down into the bar, but it's created a little bit of privacy. So that's what I do. I try and find a venue, and also one that's suitable. You don't want anywhere that's too loud. You know it's going to be overcrowded. Somewhere where you can chat, where you can be heard, and you can meet your couple and just start getting that, connection with them.
I've got a good story. So there's a pub I used to go to, which was a nice pub, not far off the motorway, really ideal location, like really nice, cosy little pub. And I did loads of meetings there. And then one day, I don't know how this never happened sooner, but one day I turned up on a certain night, and by chance they had a quiz night. And it turned out that this pub every Wednesday has a quiz night. And by some chance miracle, I just never happened to have turned up previously on quiz night. And I've always gone, and it's always been nice and quiet, and it was great. But then one day I turned up and it was quiz night, and we couldn't hear each other. There was music in the background, there was people cheering, and the quiz master guy chatting away. And I could just feel like they kept going, sorry, say that again. And we were leaning across the table. And we ended up, the groom said, he was like, do you mind if we go somewhere else? And we drove down the road to the next nearest pub and managed to get in there, and that was fine. But I didn't, suffice to say, I didn't get the booking because, and I still, to this day, think...
That was one of the main, possibly contributing factor why you didn't get the booking. It was a contributing
factor, I think, because I just felt like such an amateur. I was like, oh, I'm really sorry I didn't know it was quiz night. Like, this is awful. And then we went somewhere else, and it was that whole, okay, let's start again. Like, it's nice and quiet now. And it just set the whole thing off on a bad foot. And I didn't get the booking.
Well, so I just want to follow on to that then with tips for if you're going to do that. And this is done in the email and the communication prior or on the phone call before the meeting. I always make sure to tell the couples that it's just the bride and groom to come and meet me. I don't want 3 and 4 year old kids running around everywhere. If they've got a little new baby, they can't get a sit in, the baby's quiet, fair enough. But I don't want any other distraction. So I don't want the kids running around. And parents, want parents.
Can I bring my mum with me?
Can I bring my mum?
So always bride and groom, because sometimes it's just the bride and the groom. Oh, the groom's busy or he's not interested. Or...
Bride and groom, for me, is really, really important. And again, it's giving me the education about them. I'd hate it if I would just have a meeting with the bride and she's dead excited, she's loving, she's buzzing about me. Don't meet the groom in the day and he's not really that bothered about me. I want to make sure that they're both equally invested in having me at their wedding. So it's ultra important that it's just the bride and the groom. And listen, I've learned all this from experience over the years. I mean, many years ago, your mum and dad want to come? Yeah, come there. But then you find that you're talking to the parents sometimes rather than the bride and groom.
I've had it. Yeah.
Or sometimes the mother's taking over the booking and it's almost like you're trying to sell yourself to the parents. And it's like, well, no, the reason you do it is to get to know the couple, get to know their wants and needs for their wedding, create that personal connection with them rather than the parents.
Yeah.
Then that will come later. And that when I'm on the gig, I'm meeting I meet the parents then and make a beeline for them on the drinks reception and get to know them that way. I've had the odd mother recently. If I've got a good vibe that, say, the mother's recommended me, they've seen me at a wedding, but perhaps them two haven't. They're bringing them along, and this is Howard. But I still direct all of my conversation really to the bride and groom because I want them to be invested in me. I know the mother already is, but I'll never take the booking where the meeting where the mother's coming to check me out.
Yeah.
Am I right for their daughter's wedding? I mean, that's a no-no for me. There's no doubt.
Yeah, because parents do get far too involved, don't they, sometimes? And like on the day, I sometimes
skeptical parents is what I don't want at a meeting.
Yeah.
But if it's a mother who's seen me, absolutely loves me, and they're really invested in me, then that's slightly different.
Because then you've got someone in your corner, kind of echoing everything you're saying and going, "Yeah, he does do that. He is good."
Yeah, and what I do on that meeting as well, because I do certain things, and maybe the odd parent might be involved in my act and what I do. I'll ask the mother to go and leave the room. Can I just have them for 10 minutes? And they'll go and talk with Sam. They'll get a cup of tea, which they'll enjoy that as well. And then I've just got the bride and groom. So I always make sure, even if a parent does come, that I get them out of the room for maybe 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah, same with kids. If you
So
bring
I think
kids,
the point here is trying to set up a meeting where you've no distractions,
Yeah.
where you've got that, the captive audience of your bride and groom. No kids running about, no parents, not too loud in the venue.
I'll add to that. If you do go to a pub, make sure there's no football screens in the vicinity, because
I've learnt from that as well.
I've had grooms that are like, if the football's on or or any kind of sport or whatever, and they're just like one eye on the TV, which, because I do it, like if I go out, with Jade or my mates and there's a football, I'll be like one eye on that. So
I'd be reluctant to take that booking if the groom isn't in tune with what I'm saying, and he's got his eyes on a football screen. He's not that bothered about you anyway, is he? So
no, but
I know it's a distraction you don't want.
It's a distraction that if you can go and find a venue first and vet it and scope it out and go, right, this has got nice comfy chairs, that's a nice quiet area, there's no TVs in the background, because you're just mitigating any kind of potential.
I think it comes down to controlling your environment and minimise the distractions. So if you do have to do it in a pub, somewhere different, just think about that. Think about where you can be seated. Think about the distractions you could potentially get. Is the football on that night? Is it going to be on a big screen? I'd do it on a different night. It's common sense.
Don't do it on quiz night.
Don't do it on quiz night. Because surprised he didn't want to play the quiz. That would have been quite interesting, wouldn't it?
Coffee shops and cafes as well, like same difference, but
that can be nice.
Somewhere quiet, but I would say as well, like somewhere relatively nice. Like not just a Starbucks or a like anything chain, like somewhere a bit, like certainly, because if my services are a bit of an investment, same with you, like it's not cheap, so you want that air of luxury, you want them to come to a nice swanky pub or a nice swanky coffee place,
and this goes back
with
to
good
my
food, good drinks.
This goes back to my original experience when me and Sam booked our wedding entertainer for our wedding. We drove to Manchester, and it was in a super cool bar restaurant, and he had the perfect little spot for us.
Yeah.
And it was really swanky, and it just added to the whole experience.
Sometimes you'll get couples that, because I've had this, that'll come and go, oh, this is really nice, and it might not be the sort of place they normally go to. Oh, we've not been here before, and then it's like, oh, this is nice, and then they like kind of start going there more. Like I've had them come to me, oh, I've never been, didn't know about this pub, it's great, and then they start going there after. And it feels premium, doesn't it? Certainly if it's somewhere that they're not used to in their day-to-day life, and then they turn up and it is really nice, and it's somewhere that they learn about and maybe go again in the future, then it does feel like it's that
giving that premium, real personal experience. So when we had our meeting with him just prior to the wedding, when he was getting details, I'm going back to mine and Sam's wedding here.
Yeah.
He turned up super swish. He looked the part, but he brought a really nice leather-bound like folder where we've taken notes of our wedding, and he pulled out a proper Parker fountain pen.
Yeah,
all those little touches. Yeah. I mean, that's later on, but that initial meeting, just the way he was and the surroundings we were in that he put us in were just phenomenal. It was amazing.
So the meeting itself. Talk us through it. So I'm guessing they come knock at, like, how do you? Does it start when you open the door and say hello?
Yeah, unless I get my wife purposely to answer the door, or sometimes my kids.
Is that something that you do consciously?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Extra level of personalness. His kids came to meet us at the door. Oh my God, they were so nice. What lovely kids.
Yeah.
Oh, have you met his wife? Oh, his wife's lovely. She's lovely, and she's lovely. And it just kind of really
like proper Stepford Wives, like nice family kind of.
Yeah, and it kind of really happened by default. It's not like you can't fake this. It has to be real and natural.
Yeah,
and it's just a natural thing. It happened once. Sam did it. I wasn't
knock on the door.
Ready.
Kids run and get it just because they're curious.
Exactly, and it just happened naturally. The first time, I think Sam and I was upstairs getting ready, and Sam brought the couple into the kitchen and started the conversation. And then I turn up, I was like, ta-da! Nice to see you guys. I see you've met my wife. Whether I'd say it like that, don't know. And it was just a nice little touch.
Okay.
So yeah, we can talk through that process if you like. What I do from the minute they step in the door to
just talk us through the meeting and how you get across what you do and what you say and how.
So you've really got one chance first impression, as you know. You've got one chance at a first impression. So you open the doors if you open the doors to your friends. You know, if you open, sometimes it isn't the wife who opens the door.
Not in my case, because if it was my mates, it'd be like, oh yeah, come in.
Okay, yeah, but you're just a miserable girl at times, aren't you?
Yeah, I can be.
But if I have friends open the door, guys, how you doing? Come on in, nice to see you.
Yeah, and I know when I'm engaging with couples, I have a switch in my brain where I turn it on and I go, hey, welcome, yeah, good to see you, come in.
You want to take the awkwardness, the formalness, and the corporateness away from it. So
Yeah.
you think of the couple as your friends, maybe friends you've not seen for a little while, and you're so excited and pleased to see them. Thank them very much for coming. Guys, thank you so much for making the effort. Come on through. Let's go and get a brew, you know. And we walk through, and we start off in the kitchen, and that's when I make them a tea or a coffee or a drink. And Sam will be there, or she might come in if she's here, or the kids might wander in and chat. I mean, I had a professional boxer come a few nights ago for a meeting, and Link is in. He's talking to me about boxing and stuff, and
That's cool.
all that sort of thing is, again, it's extra personalisation. It's an extra connection, isn't it?
Chit chat before you actually get on to wedding. It's not like they come through and you go, right, wedding, let's go.
No, so that is it. So is it my strategy? Is it natural? It's just natural to me. But if you think about it in a strategy context, it works.
Yeah, because
So
it does. It feels more conversational and it kind of feels more.
Yeah. So that's what I do. They come into the kitchen and I'll go around to my brew making area and we'll start chatting. Guys, thanks so much. And I'm immediately always asking them questions about their wedding, about how have they seen me? Have they seen me at a wedding? Where were they recommended? And just put all these little things into little sort of conversation starters. And start the chat, but only like you'd start a chat with your mates or your friends and you're catching up.
That's my opening line. Is always like, oh, how's it going? How's the planning going?
Ask
like,
about
how
the
you
planning.
getting on with stuff, photographer, you know, like just general, like how's the planning going? Because that's, like you say, that's what you'd ask your mates if you've not seen them for a bit. Oh yeah, how's the wedding going? How's the planning going?
And this is really important that you don't start giving them, you know, hard sell information as soon as you walk in the door. It's as if you're welcoming friends and you're having small talk before you start talking about what you do. But I will always set that up. I'll say, when we get in the office, I'll talk about everything that I do and how it all works on your day. But for now, it's tea, coffee. How's the planning going? What venue was it again? I was there 2 weeks ago. And it was great. Or they've got a really nice area where or the staff are really good, or I love that venue because the atmosphere that it creates, and I can get a really good vibe in that room because there's enough room for, you know, as much fun that I want to create. I know I can do it at your venue.
Okay, so you're chatting to them,
and you're just chatting to them about that. You know, how you're finding stuff. It's 2025. Trust me, guys, it's gonna come fast. When me and Sam were organising our wedding, we couldn't believe how fast, and you just start talking. Yeah. And you know. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I think these are skills them social skills is something that you always need to develop and learn. You know, it's like with the age of social media. Some people they can't hold the conversation, can they?
Yeah, because there will be people listening to this that go, oh, I don't know if I could do it. It's like, you know, I find it awkward. Like I don't know what to say. But I had to learn myself these things. And
I think you just need to equip yourself with just a few initial questions, and then you'll get into a bit of a role and a routine. Yeah, and you will start to relax. If you're nervous or you're anxious about meeting couples, you come in and all of a sudden, you know in your mind, you don't have to sell your service, but you're just going to talk to them about their wedding and have certain questions ready. Oh, your venue, what venue was it again? Oh, it's that one, that's great. And you can elaborate on the venue. How's the planning going? And they'll answer that question, and then you can add to that with how they answer.
We've booked this, but we've not got a photographer yet. Oh, I know some people. I recommend someone. Or have you checked out this person?
Exactly, yeah. And I always kind of educate my couples, even when I'm in the kitchen before I come to the office with them, about what it is that my service provides for their day. So, for instance, I'll always ask, was I recommended, or how did you find me?
Yeah.
And there's, our friends recommended you. They were at a wedding that you were there, and I follow that by saying, that's great, because I don't advertise. I always keep my weddings kind of small. I don't, I always like to keep myself quite exclusive. But I always follow that up with, couples book me because they don't want their wedding breakfast to be boring, or they want the guests to have the maximum amount of fun in a time of the day which you wouldn't normally expect it. Or people book me because they want the atmosphere in the room. They want to create distractions. If they're worried about speeches, we're creating them distractions throughout the day, so it's going to be a bit easy for them. And so I start adding that into the conversations, but it's mainly just about them and their day and where they've booked, where they found me. And I always ask about, have you booked a photographer yet? And if they say, oh yeah, we've got them, or we're thinking about booking, I say, oh, I know him, or their work's great, and I worked with them last month, and we had such a good laugh together. And then I'll follow it up by saying things like, I love it when I work on weddings where I know the people, because it makes my experience better, but I think it makes the whole experience better for everybody. And they go, oh, does it? Oh, that's, yeah. So they then feel that the suppliers that they're booking know each other, they work together, and they're going to have fun on our day as well, and it's going to be even better for them. There's so many little lines and little things that all intertwine with each other that make a difference.
Everything you're saying, I have very similar lines and very similar points of conversation, but once you've done it for so long, you do just slip into this. It's like a script, isn't it? Almost where you know
it is
exactly
a script, but it's very natural
say.
And it's real. It's not forced or staged, because you can't fake it.
No,
and I can't fake it being an entertainer and a singer. You just can't.
You're reacting off what they're saying.
Yeah. But they've got to know that I'm as excited about their day as they are about their own wedding. They've got to know that I'm as excited. I really want to do their wedding.
And when they say we're getting married here, or we've booked this photographer, then that excitement is genuine. Because if they say we've booked such a photographer, and I go, I know him, like we get on great, and then you do. Then you're thinking like, oh, actually, this could be really good based on where they've booked and who they've booked, and so then you do get excited.
And one of the last ones I did was at Pepperton a week ago, and I knew on the last meeting the couple told me that Tom Harrington was filming the wedding, and he says, he's one of my best mates, and I'd overlooked it, I'd forgotten that they mentioned it originally, and I was like, oh, I can't wait. And they almost had excitement, the fact that I was excited that they'd booked
people
Tom,
really book that. They love. Couples love the whole like
dream team.
Like all our suppliers know each other. They're all the best. They all recommend each other.
Yeah. And but then you can educate your couple on that meeting that you're in that dream team. Say they've booked Johnny, for instance, or they've booked you for the video, or they've booked Tom for the video, or they've booked Stefan for stuff. And you tell them that you work with these guys and you're really good friends with them. You've let them know that you've slipped into that dream team and you are now part of the dream team. Yeah. Couples love that, don't they? Oh, we've got a great team.
Yeah, dream team.
But it's a great team as well, and it's all real.
It's true.
And it's a team that work well together. Yeah. So I am going to be naturally and genuinely excited about it. And these are just little conversational points you have with your couples on your meeting.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you're talking about the wedding, you're getting them to share about their wedding, so that's creating excitement, because they'll be going, yeah, well, actually, we've got this, and because you're showing enthusiasm, they're like, no, yeah, it is quite exciting, and it kind of, you're getting them into that mindset of looking forward to the wedding again.
I mean, if you're a couple booking people for your wedding, isn't it brilliant that those suppliers are as excited as you for your wedding?
Yeah. So if you can show that enthusiasm, then it gets them excited, and at this point you've not even got onto what you do.
I've not even come into the office yet. We've just had loads of little icebreakers at the beginning, but those icebreakers are really important because it's giving me an education while I'm in there chatting. Your subconscious brain's working away, but you're also relieving that little bit of pressure and that little stress about always feeling you've got to sell yourself. And I think we're in the best industry in the world, because if you genuinely truly love what you do, you never have to sell yourself. All you have to do is talk about what you do. And how it works on a wedding. Yeah. And that is the beauty. So you can relieve and remove that anxiety straight away without, because you don't have to feel you're selling yourself. I'm lucky I'm in a position where I don't have to take the booking. It doesn't matter to me on a sort of monetary side of things. It doesn't, and this is why I keep myself quite small and exclusive. It's not about that. It's not really about getting the booking. It's just about having the connection with the couple.
So after you've had your coffee and stuff, I know you bring them into here, and obviously it's different if you're at a pub or whatever. You sit down, have a coffee, you have 10 minutes talking general stuff, and then at some point naturally the conversation will go into so we're just now at the point where we're looking at video in my case, and then they look to you, and that's when you can go, right, yeah. So let's move on to
Yeah.
actually what I do. So then starting with you bring them into the office, and this is if you can meet people at home. This is one thing that is an advantage, is that you can then set out your office with.
Yeah, ultra control of the environment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things I'm looking around now that I could talk for flipping hours about. But I can also tell you why the little things I have in my office are there.
Because I think this is
what
a
they're
really
there
good
for.
tip, is that you've got your office laid out with certain things in here that are there because people will naturally just be looking around the room and they'll spot these things.
Yeah. So what I always do, So we've had the kitchen chat. I've got a little bit of an education. I know where they seem. I know how I've been recommended, and maybe I know who's working on the wedding. I know what the venue is. I've had that real nice little icebreaker moment. So by the time I come to the office, I'm relaxed, and the couple are more relaxed.
Yeah.
But so I say, right, guys, I'm going to be waffling here for hours about stuff. But listen, let's get into it. If you come into my office now, and we'll carry on in there. So bring the couple in. I sit them here. Sometimes it's quite awkward because they always sit back and bang their head on this piece of wood. But, they bring the teas, the coffees in, and I say, "Oh, just give me a minute. I'm just going to use the loo." I give them 5 minutes while I'm using the toilet, however long it takes, to sit here on their own just for a few minutes because they do this. And I notice sometimes they get up. Oh, they're going look.
They're looking around.
They're looking at my pictures.
Right, so you do this every time you go. Make yourself sit down. I'm just going to loo, and then you leave them to look around the room.
Every single time.
Smart.
Every single time.
For everyone listening on the podcast, if you go over to our YouTube channel, Think Wedding Business, and watch the video version of this episode, you'll be able to actually see. We're actually in Howard's office now, so you'll be able to see what he's getting at. Because in here you've got pictures framed on the walls with certificates and awards. You've got your awards on your desk. You've got all your equipment and your computer laid out. You've got your thank you cards from couples. You've got a load of Lego sets, which is really cool. Like I find it cool, but it's a bit strange. But talk us through it all. Like, so they're
It's all
looking
here
round.
for if I can create talking points with objects in my room, well, that's brilliant because they're going to ask questions about stuff, and the conversation can flow easier. If you're in a stale, static room with nothing to look at, nothing visual, or nothing that's going to start a conversation, it's going to make you feel a bit awkward, I think, and it's going to be more difficult to actually start relaxing and enjoying the meeting yourself. So I have things set up in my office for people to see, for people to look at, and I think that.
Do you make reference to them, or are they just there and you know that subconsciously they've just noticed them?
I do make reference to them, but quite often I don't have to because they make reference to them, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
So when I've come back in, they'll go, "Oh, I've noticed you've got that celebrity on it. Who's that?" Or, "I've just noticed John Barnes on the wall in the picture."
Yeah.
Or, "Oh, what's that award?" And then with the conversation points. But I mean, certainly with the picture of me and John Barnes, what happened there? I tell them the experience that I had doing the weddings for his sons.
It's all wedding related. Yeah.
It's all wedding related, but not only things like that are really important because that really it stands you out from the crowd because I'm doing celebrity type weddings.
Yeah.
And again,
I guess it's the same with the awards as well. If you're showing them off,
Yeah,
and they
so-
see that, "Oh, I've noticed your awards. Yeah, I won that. That's for the wedding stuff."
they might look at it and go, "Oh, what's that?" And I say, "Oh, that's when I won the wedding awards. I'm a judge of that now," and stuff. So you're kind of giving them it's real social proof. You're giving them reasons why they book you over somebody else. You're standing out as the expert, somebody who's really experienced. So having little things around your office or around your environment where you're going to have your meeting, I think is really important. And it helps me. It helps me because it creates conversation.
Well, it does. And especially, if you get at certain points sometimes in meetings, there is like, you finish a certain topic and then it goes quiet, and you might be struggling for things to think of to say. And it is, if you've got more little key prompts and cues that you can talk about, I suppose it helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I always have my PC open with a really good image on there. And that's the image, I know it's a picture of me and it's in my office, but...
Yeah, so you've got, on your computer, your screensaver is a picture of yourself, but that's done so that couples can see that shot of you.
Yeah, and they can see that, I'm there performing and I've got everybody up. It's a really good vibe. It's in a broad wedding, so it's a high-end wedding.
So you make sure your screen's turned on and
always, and I
Yeah.
turn the brightness up so so that I know they
Ping, there it
definitely
is.
see it.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the first things you say, "Oh, where's that?"
Yeah.
Quite often, one of the first things they will say is,
Where's that?
"Where is
And
that?"
then you can go, it's an abroad wedding destination, creating.
And as it happens,
kind
that is one of the John Barnes' son's weddings in Tuscany.
yeah, so that leads you on to the next.
Leads you on to,
Yeah,
and then I
smart.
say, well, that other picture is when he did his first son's wedding.
Why the Lego?
So what guy do you know doesn't like Lego?
So it's not just that you're like a Lego geek. That is genuinely there.
Well, for me, I want to make a connection with the bride and the groom every time. You know,
so you've got some boys' toys in the corner to try and engage the guys.
I have boys' toys and girls' stuff all around the room. So you've noticed I've got my wedding planner on the table here, which is one of these. That I've got my book here that I wrote about how to plan a wedding. That's on the table. People might even pick that up when I'm in the toilet and have a quick flew. Oh God, he's an author.
It's interesting because I know that everything in here is with purpose, and it's to like to the level where you've actually put in some Lego sets because you're thinking it might appeal to the groom.
No,
and as a talking point.
Yeah, yes and no. It's naturally, like I said, you can't fake anything.
Yeah, so you
And
do.
It's not too scripted. I like
You
Lego,
do
so they're in my
your Lego.
office.
Yeah.
But what boy doesn't like Lego? What man? Because all
It
men are
just
just
so
boys,
happens
aren't
that
they?
it helps.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and then they've got
I
the
get it.
planners, the wedding planners, the women like that. I normally have another sort of magazine out on the top, which is a bridal magazine. They might flick through that.
I suppose anything that's relatable, isn't it? Because like I'm at a point, me and Jade are engaged and we're actually planning our own wedding. So I'm enjoying that now. Every time I meet a couple, I can say, "Oh, we're also planning our wedding," because it's just that bit of something to relate to, and
Yeah.
you can go, I know it's a nightmare, isn't it? When you're like, it's a minefield. You've got so many suppliers to look at. Like, we're in the same boat, and things like that. And like we've got dogs, so if they're dog people, I'll immediately be like, oh, what breeds? Oh, I've got a dog, yeah. And it's just things to if they've got young kids, I've got young kids, things to relate to.
Yeah.
And I suppose it works with the Lego, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think this podcast could quite easily turn into how to communicate with people. But I think if you can set up your environment to make it very easy to communicate with them with things, because you've instantly got there's instantly something in common with every couple. If you've married yourself, this is because you've planned your wedding. I think I always refer to mine as Sam's wedding on every time I have a meeting with a couple, because I've been through their process. I know how they're feeling. I know what they're going through. So you've instantly got that connection with them, haven't you? You've got something, and you've got some common ground straight away. So you've always got something to talk about.
Connects you a little bit. Doesn't it?
It's designed really to really, and if you want to instill confidence in your couple, so you can pretty much guarantee getting the booking, then having these little things around your office are really, really important. So I always have thank you cards, all around my office, pinned up on my wall, on the side, beautiful pictures. And
so there is in here. There's loads of examples of previous couples, and it's all thank you, like loads of nice comments and cards.
Yeah.
So then they must see that and go, "Wow, we've got so many happy clients." Like
so many happy clients, but they're subconsciously getting the knowledge built up about me, which shows, I do amazing weddings for amazing clients. I'm getting thanked for doing it. He's got lots of experience because he's offered us advice on certain things that we didn't even think we knew. All these little things are portraying you as a real expert in your field and giving them confidence and more reasons to really want you and want to book your services. And not necessarily, not that I'm saying if you're starting out in the industry, you might not have this level of experience that I've got, but you can still do things. You can still educate your couples. You can still give them confidence that they're booking an expert, because you might talk about what you do and how you do it.
Yeah.
And this is probably what we're going to come on to next.
What
you actually say on the, if you like, it's not your sales pitch, but how you explain what you do is equally as important as the rest of it, I think.
So if you can't, going back to like if you've got to meet at a pub and you can't meet at your house, because this is a massive advantage that you've got.
Okay, well let me tell you what you
control your environment and have prompts and cues and stuff, which is great. But if you're at a pub, like you can't go and decorate it beforehand, can you?
No. Okay. So, and this is what I always used to do, and I suppose these are little key tips really. When you go on a meeting with your couple, I would always have I would always say, have something they can take away with them. As one tip, i.e., when I used to go meet my couples,
Like a physical.
a physical thing, if possible. I don't know how difficult it is for certain people, but if you're a florist, an example of flowers, or take them with you. Or, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ideas. But what I used to do, I used to have a fold-out brochure that had a CD
Well,
in it.
everyone can do a glossy,
A really nice, sexy
pricing
brochure.
guide, whatever.
Yeah, or just a nice, sexy brochure about them. A really nice brochure with it, and I had a CD in mine. I also gave them a how to plan your wedding guide, which is a bit of a version of the book, but like a simplified version of this, which they used to get as well. Something tangible that they can hold and touch and take away with you, and it comes back to psychology. You've given me something. I feel psychologically, subconsciously, we need to give you something back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I always get free gifts. This is why people, when they want to sell a service, that you're going to get it free for the first month, because you've been given something free.
Yeah, it's like psychology of like he's giving us something we've got to give back.
Yeah, why do you think at wedding fairs people have bowls of sweets? You're giving something.
Yeah.
It also brings the people in, and then you're giving them something to take home with them. Yeah, well, it could be a fridge magnet. It could be anything. So that is one thing.
But I do think that I've brought you a pen with my logo on it. Take that home with you.
No, that's a bit naff. That. Think about it. Think about what gift could you give that is maybe useful to them, or that they're really going to like. And again, it's something that has got you all over it as well. So you're always connected in the mind. So that is one.
I like the wedding guide.
Yeah, perfect.
Booklet thing.
Yeah, I mean now obviously I have a wedding planner, which
a little bit of written material to help.
Wedding planner.
So you could give them an actual wedding diary.
Give them an actual wedding diary. I mean, if couples mention this, quite often they don't, but if they do, it's there. Quite often they'll get one to take home with them. So little things like that are important. But also, if you can get across your kind of experience or your level of expertise at the meeting through a little knickknacks, whatever. That is also another good thing to do. For instance, I mean, it's quite difficult to take a load of thank you cards with you. Oh, by the way, this is what people say. No, because that would be naff.
No, but I guess based on what you've done in here, I'm thinking I could take my iPad with me, because when I meet couples, I want to show them my films or photos or whatever. I could take my iPad, and my background could be the same as what you've got your background. It could be me at a really cool wedding, because as soon as I open the iPad, they see that, and then just take a couple of. I'm going to get a gift or something like you said.
Yeah, I'm going to get onto that when you start talking about what you do with images and bits of video, which we'll come onto in a minute. But just to carry on from what I mentioned, how can you create that real bit of expertise? You're the expert in what you do. So as you know, I now judge the Wedding Industry Awards, and I've won it in the past. My award is on the desk there; people can see it quite easily. However, when you go in the award, you get a little badge. It's a little pin badge, and it says Wedding Industry Awards. I don't think it says winner, but it says entered or whatever.
Yeah.
You could just wear that, or you could have it on the front of your folder or something.
Yeah.
And they might go, "What's that?" Oh, well, I'm in the Wedding Awards.
Yeah.
It's just something. You can't take a lot of thank you cards with you. You're not going to turn up at a meeting with your award, and if you do,
that's a bit.
Well, you're trying to sell yourself too much. You have to be subtle with what you do. You can't.
Agreed.
You can't go in bigging yourself up. At the end of the day, you're there for them.
So if I've got a mug that's like Adam Wing, world's best wedding videographer.
Leave it at home, or you could take it with you, because it would be funny, and you could say it's a gift from a couple.
And it genuinely was.
There you go.
But I wouldn't take it with me. That's naff.
No. But if you have them at your house, then
just
you
happen
could
to be
do
drinking
that.
Out of it. Yeah,
and you say, "Look what a couple got me."
Or the classic in my case is the camera lens mug. So I've got about 6 of them.
I've got a pair of socks somewhere that a couple sent to me after the wedding. It's my face, lots of my faces.
I've been given
all over
novelty
the
socks. I had a bride that noticed I like wearing funky socks, and she got me a pair, which probably one of my favourite gifts I've got from a couple, actually. So what's the sales pitch?
Yeah, so, I hate that. And this is again, and
I know it's not. And
I've said it before
in that way, because I know it's not.
We don't want to people to feel that this is a pressured environment when you're coming to do weddings. And this is the beauty again of our business: is you don't ever have to do a sales pitch, but you have to talk through your service and what you do that's going to make them, feel that yes, they really want you. But you've got to make them see and visualize you on their wedding, and also you've got to communicate the reason why they need you on their wedding. Not just want you, but they need you on their wedding. And that is
and
where
not just the wedding day, but the whole process. Because if you're a florist, and
yeah, so you've done the stuff, you've gained rapport, you've shown you've got social proof, you've shown your authority in the wedding industry with everything else that you've set up. Now it comes to part of, they might have already seen what you do. They might be, they've got a, let's be honest. I get some couples come to the door and we've finished the meeting and say, well, we're going to book you anyway.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter. And this is why it's never a hard sell. But for sometimes, you still have to walk them through their wedding day with you in it, and why you're going to make it so good, or why your service is really needed, and why your service is the one for them. This is relevant to everybody in every form of wedding business, but I will portray it as in the ways is it how I do it with my couples, and you'll be able to take things from this, because it's very difficult for me to walk through somebody's wedding day, through their service, because I've not actually done it, although I know how it works.
It'll be different for everyone, but that whole process of the wedding day from your point, or the wedding journey from your point of view, and just explaining that to the couple. So like in my case, I go, right, well, the day from my point of view starts this time, I'll turn up at this time.
And that is what I do.
And you talk them through kind of your day.
Yeah,
and you take
and I also want to come back to the fact that there's always little quotes and little things and sentences that I deliver and that I say throughout the whole process. It can be at the start, it can be halfway through when I'm talking about what I do, or when I'm walking through the day. One of the things that I would always say is, planning a wedding or organising a wedding, it's such a big, can be a bit of a stressful thing, and it's also a big monetary expense. And then I will follow up by saying something like, well, this is why couples book me, because they want to make sure after all the expense and all the stress of a wedding, they're going to turn up and actually have a good time. And they're going to be relaxed on the wedding day, knowing that there's going to be a great atmosphere, and they can just literally sit back and relax and enjoy the day and watch it unfold and enjoy the whole experience, not having to be second guessing or thinking of anything, because it's going to be ran so well with the service that I provide. So it's just giving them little bits of reassurance that when they turn up on their wedding day, it's going to be great.
To me, that plants a seed of, okay, so he's told us why people book him and what happens because he's on the wedding. So that's that seed of fear of like, so if we don't get him, it's going to have the opposite effect. So by you saying people book me so that everyone's having a good time and it's not boring, and you've spent all this money, so you want to enjoy it. And so in their mind, the psychology of that is, right, so if we don't book him, we're not going to have a good time, it is going to be boring. And then you put in that feir of like, oh yeah, don't want that. Because this is what I do.
Yeah. There's certain things that I do as well that, how can I put this? It's always that education through, but it sounds like a horrible thing to say, but if you can put a little bit of fear into your couple, and one of the things that I always do when they come is I sit at the chair and I get my calendar up. So what date was it again? Just so I can double check. And when I've got my calendar up and they tell me, I go, oh no. And they go, oh, are you free? Are you still free? And I go, that's the following year, I'm already booked. So your date's still fine. A little bit. Yeah. And they go, I'm only joking. And I don't know, I think sometimes little things like that, they're like, oh thank God he's still, oh God.
Yeah,
you had us worried then.
Yeah, it's showing you, it's educating you that they are invested in like.
But without a doubt, and I get to build up this knowledge about them, and sometimes I'll steer the meeting a certain way because I know how they're feeling. And there's certainly points throughout my meeting where I want the couple to know, and I do it very subtly, that I'm choosing them rather than they're choosing me, because then they feel even better about being able to book me, because it wasn't their choice, it was my choice, kind of. But I do that in a very subtle way.
So it feels like for them a privilege to have, and this comes into the celebrity status and the authority, and it putting you, like, making yourself seem like, at the top end of this industry, because people will aspire to have you because you are the top supplier.
Yeah, and I want them to know that I'm doing their wedding because I love doing weddings. I don't want them to think I get this booking because I need the money. It's never about that, because I don't need the money. It's about, do I really want to do it, and am I excited about doing their wedding? So there's some points throughout the meeting where I will subtly, through communication, through conversation, where there'll be a point where they will know that I'm choosing them and not the other way around. And it's just by certain things that I say. And it'll be things like, I only do a certain amount of weddings a year, and this is why this meeting's really important, because I get to know you, I get to know that wedding's right for me as well as right for you, and that's important because it's a two-way process. Yeah. Just even by saying that, you've not been a dick, you've just put it out there for real, that it is a two-way process. I think for me it's really important. Other services maybe not as important, but for me, I have to be choosing them. I have to know that I want to turn up at their wedding and what I deliver and what they expect me to deliver can be delivered because it's the right couple for me. So those are the little things that I do slip in the meeting somewhere along the line. But as we get into the process of me explaining what I do and how I fit into their wedding, this is how I do it. So we've had the chat in the kitchen, we've come back, they've looked at all the stuff, we've talked about everything else. They're building a real big picture in their head about who I am and my experience and everything else. Then there comes to a point where you have to talk about what you actually do. And I always say, my God, I've waffled so much. Let me tell you how I fit into your wedding. Yeah. And they go, oh yeah, okay. God, we could be talking for hours, couldn't we? But I've not got hours. Let's just talk about what I do. So I talk through their wedding day from start to finish and where I'm going to be and how I'm going to fit in. So I always say, right, it starts from the beginning, always starts with the ceremony, and this comes down to the timing of the weddings, because I want to get an idea of how they've timed the wedding. So, ceremony, I always ask, right, is the ceremony at the church or is it a venue? And then I will follow up with questions from that. So, for instance, it's at the church, and I say, that's brilliant, it's great for me, because I know that I can get to the venue really early, I can set all my equipment up, and by the time you guests arrive for the drinks reception, I'm going to be there waiting for them in my suit, taking the role of the host, because I'm going to be hosting the day for you. So you're
just walking them through the day.
I'm walking them through the day with what I do
from your point of view.
Step
by step.
Yeah. So then I say my starting role really, and this is when my work begins, is when I'm mingling, chatting with your guests on your drinks reception. People might not think that's when my work begins, but that is when it begins, because I'm getting to know the crowd. And then I'm organising the bridal party. So I talk them through. But it's funny because through each little stage of that's what I do on the drinks, then I'm going to introduce everybody in. But before that, I'm going to go and find them. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to gain rapport with your best man so he feels a bit more relaxed when time comes. He's got to do his speech, etc. I tell them that. I'm dispelling fears all the way through, but I'm also telling them what I'm doing, but I'm adding humour into it. There's going to be little jokes here and there.
I was going to say, because within that, you can then be asking those questions of like, right, so then we come on to the drinks reception. So what have you got planned for the drinks? And you can be, and then it's creating that conversation back and forth because they're...
Yeah, and I say, the reason why that's a really good time of the day for me is because...
Yeah.
I get to know your guests, I get to organise the bridal party, get to scope out Auntie Sue and Uncle Knobhead, and you know...
So... Whatever service you're providing, by walking them through your day,
you want them to create a picture in their mind,
envisioning
of you being on the wedding, delivering what you've saying you're going to deliver,
and how it works.
Yeah, and if somebody can visualise something, then that's really powerful because it's more likely going to happen. But then you can back all that up, Adam, can't you? And I always back it up. So say when I'm explaining to them, I'm going to organise the bridal party, ready for when I do the intros in the room. I will then I'll say, this is when I've got them all lined up.
Show them an example.
I show them a video. It might just be one of my old Instagram reels, and I say,
here's an example of when I did this. Here's an
example. But I also educate them, but I'm also giving them other ideas of why the things that I do are important and why they matter. So, for instance, I will say, well, generally at your wedding, you've either got somebody who works for the hotel or the venue who don't really like doing the hosting. They love it when I turn up because I take that job away from them. But I do it very informally and very friendly, not like you'd get from probably a formal, some formal person with a flipping big long
coloured coat,
a big long coat on, who's going to be quite authoritative in the way that he speaks, or I'm just going to be there as if I'm like a guest having fun with people. And they go, oh God, yeah, because we were at a wedding the other week, had this guy there, he bossed everybody around. And I said, yeah, I'm the opposite of that. And they go, oh, that's brilliant. You've dispelled the fear straight away.
Yeah, and it's great if they come in with, if they lead with that, so it's their idea. You know, like, instead of you saying, have you ever been at a guest at a wedding where this has happened?
Yeah.
That's fine, but if they come up with that, if they go, oh, actually, we were at a wedding the other week, and then that's like the inception, you've put that into their head and they've said it, so they think they've come up with that, and then you can jump on it and go, exactly like that, that's the...
And I say, and it's like the opposite, it's really informative, friendly. In fact, I was at your venue the other week, and I've got a video, let me show you. This is when I'm organising the bridal, but before I bring them in the room.
Yeah.
And then, because you've got your phone and you're showing them stuff, you can even flick to some other things and say, in my instance, everybody's up on the chairs or they're waving the napkins. Oh, that comes later. I'll tell you how I do that in a bit. But if you're a florist, for instance, or you're a filmmaker, a photographer, you've got it. It's all visual. Yeah. Oh, this is the shot at your venue. I mean, that is one thing I'd always do, no matter what service you're in. And it's the sweet spot, isn't it? If your couple are getting married at a venue where you've worked before, or you've got some footage or some images, or
prior research their venue. If you've not been before, but it's a barn type wedding or it's a stately home type venue.
I've done one similar.
Even if you've not been there, or at a certain time of year. Oh, you're getting married in October. Oh, this is one I did in like last October at a similar type of venue. I've not been to yours before, but this is the kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And that time of year.
And then you could always follow up and you could say, well, what I always do, if it's a venue that I've not been to before, I'll always ring the coordinator or ring the venue, introduce myself and ask them, and I'll do some research on their venue to see where the really good places are to get your shots, or your film or your video or whatever.
And it's just little visual prompts to go, this is kind of how it will.
Yeah.
So I love that thing of talking them through the day, and they're envisioning you there on their wedding day, and if you can then back it up
and
with
then
visuals,
show them it, it's like, oh, great.
And then what that's doing to me is it's placing you specifically at their wedding, so that if they're speaking to any other suppliers, if like in my case, if they've emailed 5 videographers, but I've made them picture me at their wedding, then it is that thing of like, but
it's like you said, they've picked you out of this meeting and they've placed you in their wedding,
and
they're
as you're
watching
talking
it
about it,
unfold.
you're talking about how great the day is going to be and how it's going to unfold, and little things that you do to help the day run smoothly in the background, that like, you don't need to worry about this is, you just enjoy yourselves, but I do it this way because I know that helps the timings and da-da-da. So they're already going, oh yeah, that's really like considerate, that'll enhance the wedding. We need him, so that by the time they come to speak to them, the next supplier, they're already like, we've kind of already been sold on. Yeah, and that's when it's not, you don't need to sell what
to be honest, I'm pretty certain that even if I don't talk through what I do, like if you like the salesy pitch of what I do, I'm convinced that I'm already booked in their mind even before I've even started to say that. And it's just the power of that small talk, the coming to the house, and everything else that goes before that salesy pitch bit, if you like. It's not a sales pitch, but when you talk through.
But this I asked you, like, what's the sales pitch? Because I know it isn't, and that is the way to sell it, is to just insert yourself into the day and talk them through it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, do you then...
Yeah, so I will then carry on from that, because I really want to create the picture in the mind of everybody up at the chairs, everybody dance around the room, everybody being relaxed enough to let themselves go and have a really good day. I talk through the day and how I fit into it, and the little things that I do that's going to create that vibe at their wedding. I'll talk about the intros, I'll talk about how I do it, but I also talk about what it does to the wedding. Not just, oh, I do this and it's really good. No, I do this and I do it because, I always think using that word is really powerful. I do this because people are not used to coming to weddings, and they don't really know if they're allowed to enjoy themselves. Yeah. I do this because it puts an instant atmosphere in the room. I do this because it gets people relaxing. I do this because it gives your wedding an instant difference. I do this because, and it's dead powerful, and they go, oh yeah. And then I say, because otherwise you've just got some guy bossing everybody, calling you in the room. There's no music. There's not much atmosphere. It can be a bit awkward, and they go, yeah, but if I do it like this, it really builds it. And you come in, the place is buzzing. Oh, that's what we want.
Yeah.
And then I talk through my set. I'm not going to too much because it's my secrets. But then I tell them about why the things that I do, why it works, and why it has an effect on people. And then it comes together in their mind. They connect it. Oh yeah, the music coupled with the entertainment, coupled with the comedy, coupled with everything else that you do. Of course, it creates that effect. And I go all the way through it to the very end of my set, and then I say what I'm going to do to finish off the day. And at the very end of it all, I always lead with this. God, I waffled loads there, but I forgot to ask, have you got any questions? And that is what I say.
Yeah.
And you know what everybody says? No.
I think you've answered. I get the same.
You've answered everything.
We did have questions, but you've kind of answered them all already.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it, and that is brilliant. And then I just, have you got any questions? And I shut up. And then, do you go?
Yeah.
No, you've God, yeah.
Yeah.
And by then it's like you're knowing that they're thinking, we need.
Sounds good.
Oh my God, he only takes a certain amount of weddings. Oh, he only does weddings for people who he likes. Oh, he wasn't too sure about the date. All them little
urgency. Kind of.
And I always follow. There's never ever a point where I will say, "Do you want to book me?" Never. I say, guys, thanks for the chat. If you need any more advice or help with anything, you want any more recommendations, or you just want to pick my brains because I'm a bit of a wedding geek. I've been in this game for 20 years. Just use me as you can. Just throw me an email, drop me a message, give me a call. I'm happy to help with anything. But otherwise, guys, thanks for coming. Get out of my office.
So inevitably, it's gonna at some point they're gonna go, right. Okay, that sounds great. How much? So you then obviously you tell them because you need to tell them the price, don't you?
So instantly they'll always say, "Oh no, you've answered everything." When they think a little bit longer, they might say, "Oh, if you want to book, how
does it work?"
And I say, all guys, obviously you go and I never pressure couples to book me. It's just great you've come to come and meet but the booking process is you pay a booking fee, and then that booking fee will hold your date so nobody else can get it. Yeah. Something else that I say. Once the booking fee's gone in, the date is now locked off for you. And do I let them? Yeah, I think at some point I let them know that the date is kind of open until that happens. So this is what I always say actually. When I have a meeting with a couple, I lock the date until we've had the meeting. Then the day after that, the date becomes free again, unless you wanted to book. But then the date will become free after the meeting. So they'll get that as a bit of an education throughout the process somewhere, either in the chat or sometimes prior. We might have a phone call prior to the meeting and they'll say, what's the process? I will then explain that. Well, I'll lock the date off until the meeting. So nobody else can, unless they say we can't meet for 3 months, then I'm like, well, obviously the date's still open. But generally, I want them to know that the date isn't opened when the meeting's finished.
Yeah. So
creates urgency.
If they don't want to lose the date, they need to get booked in ASAP.
Yeah.
Going back to the line that you said is that on the meeting, and they come away from the meeting, and at no point have you said, "Would you like to book?"
No point whatsoever. They will. Another question they may ask when they start immediately when I say, "Have you got any questions?" They always say no. Then they start thinking, "Oh, if we want to book, what's the thing? Well, it's deposit," and then you can go into the date is yours. Then it's locked off. Nobody else can get it because obviously I can't hold dates because it gets complicated because I get so many inquiries. But once you make a decision you want to book, it's locked off.
That's yours.
You send over a deposit, dead easy, bosh. And then what happens from there is, because this is another follow-up line that I say, is we have another meeting a week or 2 or 3 before the wedding. I want to make sure that you've had your stag in your hens because I'm going to pick up loads of cool stories. There'll be lots of little things that may have happened on your stag and hen that I might be able to incorporate into my act. So I like to keep it nice and close. But anytime between now and then, I'm available for you. Questions, advice, anything you want to run by me. And if I don't answer it because I'm at a wedding or whatever, just drop it in an email. I'm here to support you all the way through.
You want to be that point of contact because then by the time the wedding comes around, you are like their wedding fairy godmother kind of.
Exactly.
You want them to be your mate, so that you want to encourage that like if they do book you, you
Yeah.
want to encourage that back and forth.
Yeah, and I'm there. And look, if you already
Follow each other on social media so that you
follow me on social media, see what's going on. I always tell my couples to keep me a secret, but people don't have to do that generally, but I do. But I always say,
yeah,
look,
but that's specific to your act, isn't it?
yeah, but I also follow up with things, say, look, if you need help with speeches, I said, I can't tell you how many groom speeches I've written, or looked over, or tweaked, or helped with. I've even printed speeches out. I'm actually doing a speech service at the minute, which that's for another day. But anything that I think will give value to them, even on the build up to the wedding, I'm gonna offer. I'm gonna tell them that I'm there for them. They feel supported.
Brilliant.
And that I'm just the wedding singer, but after the meeting, they think, "Oh my God, he's so much more."
Yeah, we need that guy, and that's what you're trying to create. You're trying to make them leave that meeting going, well,
How could we have a wedding without Howard?
How are we going to do it without them? Like, with we've already pictured it. They've slotted into our wedding in our minds already. We're going to have to book them, and that's.
And listen, I've had, and I get it. I have feedback all the time with couples that say, "Oh my God, how could we have had a wedding without Howard?" And I even couples go on social media and do a little post and put, "You need Howard," or "How could anybody have a wedding without Howard?"
Yeah.
I see
and
that.
That's
I hear
great.
it. I
And
see
it's
it all the
obviously
time.
partly because of what you do on the day, but it's all that stuff that you've done when they booked you in order to sell that dream.
Yeah,
All
and
those
you know
sort
what?
of little things
together,
really important and really works. So
I do it as well,
great
Adam.
advice.
It's not only for them; it's for me as well. I love meeting my couples. I love getting to know them. I get so much enjoyment about talking about their wedding as sometimes on the day itself. It's because I know what I'm capable of doing at a wedding, and I get excited about being there. And it's nothing's ever faked or forced. It's all natural, and it's the way it has to be. But for me, face-to-face meetings is just the way forward.
Yeah, without a doubt, and I think it's an important part of the process and booking couples, which everybody needs to do. Everyone needs to book clients. So why would you not do it and set yourself apart?
You're giving more. You're giving a better service. You're standing out from other people who won't be willing to do it. You're getting to know your couples. You're just creating a really good experience for them, but also for you at the same time.
Yep. Great advice. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
You can come back to being like one of the hosts now, and we'll wrap up.
Well, thanks for viewing and listening to the Think Wedding Business podcast.
So, obviously that was a great chat. But next episode, we will be back with a guest. I just wanted to do that one with the expert and in meetings, and I think there was some great tips there. So yeah, we'll see you next time for another episode, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, mate. It's been different and I've enjoyed it.
Do you like being interviewed? So thanks so much for listening. We really hope that you found this episode insightful, inspirational, and if you did enjoy that, then please consider subscribing to us wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. We're Think Wedding Business.
We're also on YouTube and Instagram, so if you want to watch us, you can go over to YouTube and find us at Think Wedding Business. And the same over on Instagram to keep up with all of our future episodes.
We'd really love you to subscribe and join us on this journey. And if you do like this content, please consider giving us a 5-star review. It just helps us get seen and helps spread the word.
So thanks again for listening,
Wings
and we'll see you
out.
next time.
Bye-bye.